Yugoslavia is a country with many nations, languages, religions, and wars. Due to the disintegration of that country, the following were created: Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, although everyone prefers to call it just Macedonia, except for the Greeks. Today, we will not talk about the history of that country, although it is interesting, but about my favourite films from the area of the former Yugoslavia. The cult anti-war film by Srđan Dragojević from 1996, Pretty Village, Pretty Flame, is considered a classic of modern Serbian cinematography, and was also a Serbian candidate for the Oscar in the category of Best Foreign Film. The plot of the film was inspired by a true event: the story of 7 Serbian soldiers imprisoned 9 days in the Brodar Tunnel in September 1992. Through the film, we follow the wounded in a Belgrade hospital who remember their childhood and days on the battlefield in Bosnia and Herzegovina. 2 boys, Halil, who is a Muslim, and Milan, who is a Serb, grew up together in a village near an abandoned tunnel. Only 12 years later, fate brings the boys together during the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Namely, Milan is trapped in a tunnel with 6 other comrades, and Halil is on the opposite side of the tunnel where both expect a conflict. Among the Serbian soldiers, due to a combination of circumstances, there was also an American journalist who filmed the soldiers revealing their life stories to her. It is precisely this segment of the film, the inevitable interaction between man and camera, as an apparatus that replaces the priest before death, that is also the saddest. Pretty Village, Pretty Flame is considered by many to be the best war film made on the territory of the former region, a film that talks about the futility of war and the meaninglessness of conflict, and even though it is a serious subject, it even manages to entertain the audience through witty dialogues. There are some movies that we always like to return to, that bring back good memories, that we watch again and again with pleasure, and in which we always, regardless of how many times we have watched them, notice something new and learn from them. Train in the Snow is one of those films, a jewel of domestic cinema whose universal message moves the whole world. One cannot do much alone. Zranja, but we can do everything together. Train in the Snow is a classic of Croatian children's literature that has also become a classic of domestic film. Train in the Snow is one of the best Christmas movies I've seen. The film was shot from 1973 to 1976. Most of the actors in the film were children from the regional school in Ciglena, which was then part of the elementary school Milan Bakić Baha in Bjelovar. The main scenes of the film were shot on the railway line Bjelovar Kloštar Podravski in the village of Grginak and in the village of Tomaš near Bjelovar. Scenes were filmed on the railway in Grginak when the train got stuck in the snow. There was no snow that year, so snow cannons from Planica in Slovenia were used. At the end of the shooting, real snow appeared, so some scenes were shot in real snow. Part of the film was shot in Zagreb at the zoo, at the Central Railway Station, at the Dolak Market, the Funicular, the HNK and the Printing House. Part of the film was shot at the Roveši Railway Station near Bjelovar. How the War Started on My Island is a Croatian film directed by Vinko Brešan from 1996. One of the most popular Croatian films of the 1990s, it humorously and satirically depicts the beginning of the homeland war on a small Croatian island. The film focuses on ordinary people whose lives are changed overnight by the arrival of the army. Despite the seriousness of the subject, this Croatian film manages to maintain a light tone, exploring the power of community, love and humour as a means of resistance. Through a series of comical situations and misunderstandings, How the War Started on My Island critically illuminates the absurdity of war, making it a unique and cherished piece of Croatian cinematography. The action of the film takes place in Croatia in 1991, when conflicts flare up between the legal Croatian authorities and the Yugoslav People's Army. Art historian Blaj Gajski comes to a small Adriatic island in an attempt to get his son, who is serving military service in the JNA, out of the barracks there. But the commander of the barracks, Major Alexa, threatens to blow up the explosives warehouse in the barracks and thus destroy half the island if anyone approaches him. The locals organized themselves and built a stage in front of the barracks on which they performed a musical and artistic program day and night, trying to convince Alexa to surrender. No Man's Land is not a war, but an anti-war film in the best sense of the word. Cynically, absurdly, and without a hair on the tongue, evoking all the pointlessness of the war, not only the one in Bosnia, in which the story is set, but the war in general, the film successfully avoids any attitudes about the mentioned conflict. There is no accusation or finger-pointing at potential culprits. Uncompromisingly rejecting the typical infantile Hollywood philosophy of war myths and legends, No Man's Land is at the same time an austere and deceptively romantic film that contains its charm and irresistible attraction to a difficult and painful subject, thanks primarily to the sense of humor of its director and screenwriter Danis Tanovic. That his typically Bosnian witty rakas is the best way to present the scale of absurdity and the incredible amount of stupidity that happened in these areas fueled by the whirlwind of war is evidenced by the fact that the film won several film awards, including the Oscar and the Golden Globe for the best part of the film and Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Original Screenplay. At the same time, a fine sense of proportion is visible in the film, so this theatre of the absurd with sworn enemies who do not have the courage to kill each other, UN peacekeeping forces who cannot find a common language with each other, and are tasked with establishing communication with the warring parties, and the mass of journalists who are outnumbering the soldiers and knowing more about what is happening than any of the parties involved in the war. She manages to stay within the boundaries of reality all the time and clearly convey her strong anti-war message to the viewer. A Tight Spot is a 1982 Yugoslav comedy film directed by Mića Milošević and written by Siniša Pavić along with Ljiljana Pavić. The film achieved enormous popularity throughout SFR Yugoslavia, spawning 3 sequels by the end of the decade. The story centers around Dimitrije Mita Pantic, a bewildered clerk in his mid-50s working in a crusty state-owned company under corrupt boss Srećko Šojić. Constantly frustrated and stressed out, Pantic's personal life isn't much better either. Living in a cramped apartment with his wife Sida and their 3 grown children Branko, Mira and Aka, each with their own problems, Pantic also has to endure his cranky mother and a state-assigned subtenant Susanna under the same roof. This is the end of my list where I only took some movies. Of course, there are more. I hope you liked my list and my video. If this video gets more interest, we can make a second part. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more videos, and hit the bell. Greetings until the next video.